Minecraft Beta was the 6th and final stage of Minecraft's development, released after the alpha versions. Minecraft Beta had major updates, and ran from December 20th, 2010 to September 15th of 2011. In Beta 1.0, the sound files were no longer hard-coded to come from a website, so now we have sound. Leaf decay was reintroduced. Floating trees from alpha were a thing of the past. You could also now throw eggs. Beta 1.1 was released without the font.txt file. This was quickly fixed. And support for capes was added. Beta 1.2 added spruce and birch forests. Trees were made from their respective logs and leaves, with both logs crafting into planks and both new leaf types dropping saplings. Squids were added, the first aquatic mob. It can be milked, and when killed, it drops ink sacs that are one of 16 new dyes. Skeletons now drop bones, which can be crafted into bone meal, used to speed up crop growth. When combined with ink sacs, grey and light grey dye can be made. Lapis lazuli ore was added and dropped the new lapis lazuli, used to craft lapis lazuli blocks, and combined with bone meal to make light blue dye. Cactuses could be smelted to make green dye, combining with bone meal for lime dye, and lapis lazuli to make cyan dye. Roses could be made into red dye. When combining with bone meal, make pink dye. Red dye and lapis lazuli made purple dye, with pink and purple dye making magenta dye. Dandelions could be made into yellow dye. When combined with red dye, making orange dye, and the final dye was cocoa beans, but couldn't be obtained in this version. Beta 1.2 re-added color wool from InfDev, made with wool and the new dyes. You could also dye sheep. Sheep could now naturally spawn with grey, light grey, and black variants. Spiders could now climb up walls, and that is terrifying. So creepy. New blocks were sandstone, made from sand. Dispensers that when powered and equipped with arrows would shoot the arrows, and note blocks that when powered would emit a note depending on the block it was on and the pitch it was set to. To celebrate the new year of 2011, a cake was added, made from 3 milk buckets, 3 wheat, an egg, and sugar crafted from sugarcane. Just what I always wanted. A squid milk flavored cake. Beta 1.3 allowed the world name to be changed and allowed for more than 5 worlds to be created. The world file saving format was changed, resulting in the game loading faster and smoother gameplay. Along with the saving format, a smooth lighting engine was added, and squids lost their ability to be milked. Guess I'll just have to make my cake with cow milk instead. New slab variants were added. Cobblestone slabs, wooden slabs, and sandstone slabs. They worked like stone slabs, allowing the player to move up 1 block without needing to jump. And stone slabs are no longer made from cobblestone, but stone instead. Redstone repeaters were added and would delay a redstone signal by 1 to 4 ticks, depending on its setting. Fun fact about repeaters is that you can make them like so. And that's where the crafting recipe comes from. The skull on fire painting was added. More specifically, it was added in a previous version, but it didn't have the texture till Beta 1.3. The best part about Beta 1.3 is that beds were added. Crafted from wool and planks, it could be used to sleep through the night. Beta 1.4 had the first April Fool's prank, the locked chest, which when opened, looked like this. The Minecraft logo was changed, and I like it.
Sleeping in a bed would now set your spawn location.
Cocoa beans were added to dungeon chests. They could now be used as dye to get brown wool and brown sheep. They were used for making the new cookies, crafted with wheat and cocoa beans. These were the first stackable food source, and were stackable to 8, but at the time was used more as a flex on servers. Wolves were added, dropping nothing when killed, but could be tamed using bones for a new companion.
So cute! And it follows you around. Oh, and it shakes in the water!
Sheep could now naturally spawn with pink or brown wool, though it is very rare. And the default key to open the inventory was changed from I to E. Beta 1.5, the main menu got an overhaul, adding options to change the GUI scale, and added achievements. And I'm gonna get them all. And done. Statistics were added so that anytime you did anything in any world, it would get added to your statistics. When a creeper was hit with lightning, it would turn into a charged creeper, which has a much more powerful explosion. Pigs struck by lightning would turn into swordless zombie pigmen. Birch and spruce saplings were added, growing into their respective trees. Birch and spruce leaves now drop their respective saplings. Fire now spreads slower than it did before. In previous versions, 1 spark could turn your world into a fiery hellscape. Detector rails were added and would produce redstone power when a minecart was on it. And power rails were added, which, when powered, sped up minecarts. Before this, minecart boosters were used, but now no longer work. Cobwebs were added, they were hard to move through and dropped nothing when broken, but didn't spawn in the world till Beta 1.8. Beta 1.6 removed sleeping in hell, and instead replaced it with an explosion. Thanks, Mojang. New foliage was added. Grass, which occasionally drops seeds when broken, as you couldn't get grass seeds from hoeing the ground anymore. Dead bushes, only found in desert, along with ferns. Trapdoors could be crafted, and were like doors for the ground. Great for making mob traps. Maps were added, crafted with paper, and used to see the surrounding area. The center of the map is where that map was created.
Changes in Beta 1.6 were that glowstone could now be crafted with a 2x2 recipe instead of the 3x3. And glowstone drops 2 to 4 glowstone dust, as opposed to only 1.
In Beta 1.7, pistons were added, crafted with 3 wooden planks, 4 cobblestone, 1 iron ingot, and 1 redstone. They could be used to push blocks when powered. A sticky piston can push and pull blocks, being made with a piston and a slime ball. Now, slime balls have a use. Shears crafted with 2 iron ingots were added and were used to collect leaves and 2 to 4 wool from sheep, as sheep will now always drop 1 wool when killed. The texture of some blocks were changed,
And I like it.
Beta 1.8, called the Adventure Update, completely overhauled the game. New video settings were added, with the field of view being able to be changed, and the brightness which went from moody to bright, resulting in the night looking like day. Void fog was added, which would only show up at the bottom of your world near bedrock, and made it impossible to see. The world generation was changed to now have more biomes: plains, taiga, forests, swamps, desert, rivers, oceans, and extreme hills. Updating from a previous version would result in these world boundaries, separating the old from the new,
Including a 1 block drop in water height.
passive mobs no longer randomly spawned in light levels of 7 or more, but instead loaded in with the world generation, meaning your crop fields were safe from being trampled, as you could now corral the mobs. Swamp biomes now spawned in the new vines, collected with shears. Glass panes could be crafted from 6 glass, like the new iron bars with ingots. 4 new structures were added: ravines, it's a death trap, don't go in, villages, mine shafts, and strongholds. Mine shafts had spawners for one of the new mobs, the cave spider. These were small enough to get through 1 block holes and could poison the player. They protected the chests, which would sometimes have pumpkin and melon seeds in them, to grow pumpkin and melons. Melons, when broken, dropped melons, also called melons. Weird. The stronghold was made up of new blocks: iron bars, stone bricks, mossy stone bricks, and cracked stone bricks. When broken,
These drop their respective variants.
these blocks also had an infested variant that, when broken, would spawn the stronghold's new mob, the silverfish. Silverfish dropped nothing when killed, but when damaging a silverfish, if it didn't die, a nearby infested block would break, spawning another silverfish, resulting in quickly getting overwhelmed. In Beta 1.8, there was only 1 stronghold per world, so you just had to randomly come across it, as Ender Eyes didn't exist at the time. The final mob added was the Enderman, a 3-block tall mob that picked up and placed blocks, can teleport, and take damage from water. When first added, they had green eyes and couldn't teleport, but this changed to purple by the end of Beta 1.8. When killed, they dropped an Ender Pearl, which can stack to 64. This was later changed to 16. This currently doesn't do anything, much like the slime balls from Alpha. They had the same sound as zombies. Stone brick slabs and brick slabs were added along with their stair variants so that more blocks had consistency. Mushrooms could be bone meal to create large mushrooms and get these interesting mushroom blocks. And fence gates could be made with 2 planks and 4 sticks. Combat was completely overhauled. Bows could now be charged as opposed to immediately fired. Critical hits could be performed by jumping. Swords could be used to block, and an XP bar was added that would fill up from these experience orbs. A new food system was added, with most food sources now able to be stacked to 64. This included the new raw and cooked chicken, dropped from chickens, and raw beef and steak, dropped from cows. Zombies now drop rotten flesh instead of feathers. Even though this is edible, I don't recommend it. The pre-releases of Beta 1.9 became the pre-releases for 1.0, and in these versions, there were a lot of glitches. During all of Beta, there was the understackable item glitch, where when you removed an item from a chest, as it blew up, you would get an item with a stack of 0. As a result, when subtracting items from the stack, it would go into the negatives. Adding these negative stacks with a positive one would cancel them out. An easier way to get these is going to Beta 1.8 pre-releases. Putting out of a crafting table while there's a stack inside of the crafting GUI will drop a stack and the 0 item. But this is for single player only. In Beta 1.6, damage tools dropped as a 0 item tool and result in items that could be infinitely picked up. In Beta 1.7.2, blocks could be duplicated using the piston setup like so. As one piston pushed, the other pulled, making the game create two of the same block. In Beta 1.9 Pre-3, when you enchanted an item, you got the enchantment tag. But when updating to Beta 1.9 Pre-4, the enchant tag became Feather Falling 1, resulting in getting Feather Falling 1 on any item that was able to be enchanted at the time. Another 1.9 Pre-3 glitch was by getting portal frames by locating strongholds. In this version, there were now 3 strongholds, which were shown by these giant glass pillars. By blowing up the portal frame, which looked like this, the item would be dropped. With the item in hand, you could update a Beta 1.9 Pre-4 to turn it into a portal frame item. In Beta 1.9 Pre-4, you could get a spawner block by using a Silk Touch pickaxe on a spawner. There was one more glitch, item transmutation. With this, you could change a block's MBT data, which meant you could get brown wool more easily. But that's not all. You could get the other variants of infested stone by combining this with another glitch in a later version. It was possible to get unobtainable items in survival, but more on that in the future. If you enjoyed the beta development, I'm playing Minecraft through every version. In Minecraft Beta, we collected the glitched items and built this barn for the new passive mobs. Watch this video to check that out. Thanks for watching. Now, onto version 1.0.
Bye!